It's crunch time for West Ham. Lopetegui, watch this video. Hello, welcome to On Me Edson. I hope you're all well. So this is week 11 of the English Premier League, and it's kind of crunch time for a few managers. We've already seen Eric Ten Hag. He's been given the old Spanish archer. He's gone, and Marin is coming in the international break. He's going to be coming in, and possibly Lopetegui from West Ham is going to be going out. Now, some interesting fixtures to look out for this coming weekend, week 11 from the Premier League. We've got Brentford at home to Bournemouth. Bournemouth had a cracking result last time out, so that'll be an interesting game, possibly a Bournemouth away win. Crystal Palace at home to Fulham. I'll go for a draw in that one. West Ham against Everton. Well, it can only be a West Ham win, but I'm going to come back to that. But I fear it could be a draw or potentially even a loss for West Ham, so an Everton away win. Wolves at home to Southampton. I'll go for a Wolves win. Brighton at home to Man City. Man City, well, they're in a poor run of form. Was it 3 losses on the bounce? I'm going to go for a draw on this one. And then the evening kick-off on Saturday, Liverpool at home to Aston Villa. I'll go for a Liverpool home win on this one. On Sunday, you got Man United at home to Leicester City. I'm going to go for a Man United home win on this one. Nottingham Forest at home to Newcastle United. The way Nottingham Forest are playing, I'm going to go for a win for those guys because they're playing some cracking football right now. Spurs at home to Ipswich Town. It's going to be a Spurs win for me. And the big game of the weekend, of course, is Chelsea at home to Arsenal. I'm going to go for a Chelsea home win for this one because Arsenal are struggling at the moment. But let's get back to the main crux of this video. West Ham at home to Everton. What do I think the result is going to be? Well, I think it's going to be another poor performance. I think it's going to be much of the same from West Ham. We haven't seen enough from the team this season, from the squad of players, but most notably from the manager Lopetegui and his coaching staff. They haven't really created an identity within the West Ham team in the way they want to play, either from the back, in the middle of the park, possession-based football, getting the ball forward to the strikers or the strike force where they are the wingers, and it's just not good. Yes, I've had injuries. Fulkrug has never really, we had a couple of early appearances, but then he got injured. He's probably out injured for a long time now. Kudus, who's now received an extra suspension, so he's out for 5 games in total. So really going to miss his kind of optimism and enthusiasm for taking on players and going forward. So you've only really got Antonio and Danny Ings up front who can possibly do anything. You got Bowen is really largely out of form, but he'll be coming off the right if Antonio plays through the middle. In midfield, West Ham have got problems with not only ball retention, which is supposed to be Lopetegui's ace card really, to retain possession and play the ball around and create opportunities and be more expansive. None of this that we've seen. We've seen glimmers of better ball possession, but nothing's really come of it. And this is what is frustrating many of the West Ham fans, if not the bulk of the West Ham fans. The whole point of not sticking with David Moyes is to go in a different direction, in a better direction, to bring a different brand of football, a more exciting and more attacking brand of football. Many people were questioning the appointment of Lopetegui at the time because there wasn't really a lot of data in terms of showing this kind of football. Then within a few games, kind of realised that this is not the football we're going to be getting. Yeah, you might have better possession, but we're not really doing anything with it. We're still terrible in midfield. Our discipline in midfield hasn't been great this season either. In the defence, they don't really know what kind of formation really want to play, and swapping and changing players and goalkeepers hasn't been great. And up front, there's no real game plan either. So whichever area of the park you look at, West Ham are just not a cohesive unit. There isn't an identity there. There isn't something that the West Ham fans can objectively look at the team and say, yeah, this is looking good. Now, on paper, the players should be performing a lot better than they are. Everybody would agree that. Whether you're a fan from another team, whether you're a broadcaster, whether you're a journalist, whatever, most would look at the West Ham squad and say they've got some really good players, and they have on paper, but most of these players are underperforming. And they're underperforming in a system and a style of play that just isn't working. So who has to take ultimate responsibility for this? Well, it's the manager. It's always the manager. Yes, you've got to blame the players, and those players cross the white line, and they've got to hold their hands up and be accountable for what they do or what they don't do on the pitch. But ultimately, the buck stops with the manager because he's the one who has to address the issues on the pitch. He's the one who has to make in-game changes. He's the one who has to manage in-game issues. He's the one who has to make substitutions, which largely he's been a lot more proactive in terms of making making substitutions than David Moyes ever was, in all fairness to him. But none of it really has worked. West Ham have been very lucky in some of the performances that they've had. They've deserved all the losses, and they could have easily lost the draws as well. So it hasn't been great. So many of the West Ham fans are thinking, well, what are we doing here? What's going on here? Because it just isn't working. Under Sean Dyche, Everton they've had their struggles, of course, but they've bounced back, and they're a decent team. They'll be a hard team to play against. Historically, West Ham don't really do that well against Everton either. So it's not a fixture that we really enjoy, that we really look forward to. Coming to the London Stadium, you think, what, home advantage? That should work in West Ham's favour. It doesn't always work that way. In fact, the way the fan base is looking at the team right now, you're kind of almost expecting there to be some kind of, slow start, not really at the races. The opposition, the away team to come in, whoever the away team is, to dominate a lot of possession as well, to put our defence under pressure. And if Everton come to West Ham and they show a lot of high energy, they use the width, they get lots of crosses and they put the defence under pressure, they run through the lines. If they show that, then West Ham will struggle. And if West Ham have a slow start into the first half and Everton score, then West Ham are going to be chasing the game all the way through the second half. Regardless of the result, if West Ham don't show a positive performance, don't show the fan base that there's any kind of game plan here, there's an identity in which they want to play and how they want to play. If he's not bold in his selection, he's not brave in dropping some players and putting in some other players, or changing it up, or simplifying the whole pattern of play, or the desired pattern of play, then it's only going to go one way for the fan base. They're going to want him out. They're going to want to change at the top. Now, this doesn't relieve the players of any responsibility at all, and it certainly doesn't relieve the board members, the owners, of any responsibility as well, because behind the scenes, West Ham United is a complete basket case. We know that. So whomever comes in as a new manager has got that to contend with. But actually on the pitch, the way they're playing, even if we're losing, but if you could see the manner in which they're playing, and you could say, oh, yeah, okay, we can see where we're going. You could have said this about Nottingham Forest last season. They were great going forward, but kind of naive at the back. You could see they were kind of naive. They seem to have completely flipped that around this season. So if West Ham were like Nottingham Forest last season in that they were great going forward, but still a bit naive in the back, you could say, okay, we can work on this. This is something we can work on. We can change it up. Let's just stick with him, because we know what the kind of play that he's trying to produce, and an exciting football. Yes, we've got to shore up at the back and we've got to get more balance in the team, but you can see that's the way he wants to go. But we're not seeing any of that, and that's the problem. We're not seeing any of that. So for me, this is a crunch match for West Ham United, not only in terms of league position, not only in terms of momentum going forward, but it's a crucial match for Lopetegui himself. He needs to put out a team and a style of play and tactics that is going to take it to the opposition. As a home team, you want to ram it down the opponent's throats. You want to take charge of that game. And if he doesn't do that, he's going to disappoint everybody. If it's a very lucky win, he might get a stay of execution. It's a very unconvincing draw, there's going to be a lot of pressure. If it's a very unconvincing loss, or a terrible loss, I think that's it. That will definitely be it. Now, this could be the most fortunate time to make a decision for West Ham, because there is the 2-week international break. So if they act early enough, if they are disappointed after the Everton result, then they got 2 weeks to find a manager. Then that manager can come in and try and sort a few things out. Now, apparently there is a list of West Ham managers that could be targeted, and some of the names on that list might be a bit suspect. Some we don't really want at all, but at least they're thinking about it. At least there might be a plan B if it all goes wrong with plan A, and that is Lopetegui. Now, I would never want anybody to be sacked. I would never want any manager to lose his job, but it's a performance-based game. It's a results-based game. If you're not getting the results, if you're not getting the performances, and that's what your job is, then essentially you're failing. And you can't keep on continuing to fail in a job, especially in a high-profile team in the Premier League, the biggest league in the world, the best league in the world. It's just not going to work. So for me, I'm afraid it's going to be an Everton away win. I wish I wasn't saying that. I'm hopeful for a West Ham win. Of course I am. I want to see the manager do well, but he just hasn't shown us anything right now. So I'm going to go for an Everton away win. Best, I think it could be a draw, but whichever way it goes, Lopetegui is going to be under a lot of pressure from the West Ham fan base, and I would assume from the board as well. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you like what I do here, well, just keep on watching the videos, and I'll catch you again. Bye now.